Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on the DigiQuatics Custom Forms. My name is Josh Duffy, the CEO and co-founder over here at DigiQuatics. I am joined by Michael Pierce, the co-founder and CTO of DigiQuatics. I'm sure you guys are familiar with our faces and names. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick welcome and introduction. Today we're going to be spending about 20 minutes going through the Custom Forms module, which is a brand new module from DigiQuatics that we're really excited to announce for you guys. It's extremely dynamic and customizable to basically whatever you have going on in binders and checklists and file cabinets at your pool operation. So we're really excited. If you could just drop a quick chat in the Zoom webinar chat and just say, hey, let us know where you're tuning in from. I'm here in Denver, and we've got about 8 inches of fresh snow on the ground today, so I'm happy that I'm inside. So feel free to jump in there and say, hello, Desiree from Cheyenne, welcome to the webinar. Everybody else, feel free to chime in and introduce yourself. I think we have about 20-something people joining us today, so I'm really excited. This webinar truly has exceeded all of my expectations for just everything that we're doing over here. And I think you guys will really enjoy today's presentation. Michael Pierce, he's joining us over here in the chat. There's a Q&A window, so feel free as we go through the webinar to just drop whatever questions you have. I will try and answer them live if it makes sense. Otherwise, I will answer them at the end of the webinar. So again, 20 minutes of presentation or so, and then we'll have about 10 minutes for some more questions and answers at the end. Cool, so I'm going to share my screen here. All right, here we go. Okay, so, and stay tuned, I do have an awesome exclusive webinar offer at the end of this presentation. So stay tuned for that. We're really excited to kind of give you guys a special offer heading into summer this year. So to kind of kick things off, I'm just going to jump straight into it. This is the DigiQuatics dashboard. And today what we are going to be doing is building the MAC, the Model Aquatic Health Code, that is Aquatics Facility Inspection Report. So I'm going to bring that up here. This is kind of, it's not necessarily a newer form, but maybe one that you're not all familiar with entirely. But what I'm going to show you is how you can actually almost replicate this form in DigiQuatics. So if you want to do this MAC Aquatic Facility Inspection Report, you can do that very easily. So to first get started here, we're just going to go over into the settings in DigiQuatics. And this is where you're going to set up all of your custom forms and enable any other settings with any of the other modules in DigiQuatics. But I'm going to just jump down here to the Custom Forms module settings here. I'm going to add a new custom form, and we're going to title this MAC Aquatic Facility Inspection Form. All right. So DigiQuatics was designed to be extremely flexible for as many locations as you have. So in this test account here, we have some different rec centers, some different departments too. So a lot of times people use one location to separate maybe the aquatics department from the front desk for scheduling or checklists or just however you want to separate things. It's been really easy to just separate by location, by department, really whatever you want to do. So you can do checklists, forms, everything in aquatics and facility-wide. So I'm going to say that this form specifically can be used at all locations, and also if I want to change it so that this form can only be used at Kings Park Rec Center, you can also select that as well. So very customizable. Now, as far as permissions go with employees, you can set this form to be accessible by admins only or all employees. So for the sake of this, I'm just going to leave this to all employees. Okay, so form description, this is just a generic form provided by the CDC here, so I'm not going to put a description in, but this will just help your supervisors or whoever's filling out this form know a little bit more about what it is all about. Now, sorry, as far as the fields go, initially this looks very simple, but there's a lot of moving parts here that I'm going to try and just highlight in a couple different ways. It's a little bit technical, but I'm going to try and explain this as best as I can. So the first thing that we want to fill out on this form is the name of the aquatic facility up here. So one of the cool things that is built into DigiQuatics is actually pre-built drop-downs based on your location or the pool that you have access to. So you can see here, select locations, positions, pools, and employees. So locations is going to give us a drop-down of, just as you saw, Kings Park Rec Center, Black Rock Center, aquatics, front desk, all of those are going to be pre-built for you, so you don't need to create them. You can also do pools. So if you want to do Carmody Rec Center lap pool as an option in your drop down with the hot tub and the splash park, you can do that as well. So we're going to say select locations. This one is going to be required. So it will have to be completed when you submit the form. So these are all those like little annoying asterisks, like you have to fill this out in order to submit this form. That is exactly what this is for, is it must have a value selected in order to submit the form. Next up is the address. So for this one, we're going to leave this as text. So this is going to be just an open-ended type whatever you want into that field, text field. Then we have a city, same thing, text, state, and zip. Okay, so we've got the first little kind of overall, just who the facility is, where it is for this form here. The next thing that I'm going to do is the time. So we have some pre-built time pickers. So you can say time in, and then for the type, go ahead and just pick time. And one way to do this also is to actually do a date separately and then a time. So then it will record, January 28th at 11:07 a.m. or whatever time you pick. So again, we can make these required if we want to, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to skip over a couple little things here. Again, if you guys have any questions that make sense to go through along the way, feel free to drop them into the Q&A. Otherwise, I'll get to them at the end, or Michael will chime in as well. Next thing we have here is the venue type. So we have pool, hot tub, spa, wading pool, etc. So I'm going to add a field for venue type. Now, the cool thing here is you can actually make your own field. So if you want to do a checkbox, yes or no, or a radio button, I'll show you kind of what those look like. But for the options, we're going to do them with comma separated values. And what that means is I'm going to type pool, comma, hot tub, slash spa, comma, oops, wading pool, comma, other. What that's going to do is give you those little round buttons where you can just pick one. That's going to give you that option there for each of those. So then they'll see all of those in the options, and then they can just check the one that applies. Okay, risk type, same thing. I'm just going to say, and you can look at the Mac cheat sheet for this. So risk type, you can do, for this one, we'll do a select. So you'll actually have to click it from a dropdown, just like this one. So this is a dropdown select here. So for this, we're going to say this is a 1, a 2, or a 3. Okay, now what's cool is we're going to get into some of these sections and the descriptions for each of these things here. So the next section down is going to be the pool and spa area. So I'm going to go ahead and add a field and call this a section. And what this is going to do is just put like a break, like a placeholder, so that you can see this is the pool area section of fields. So pool / spa area. And if you want to put more detailed instructions in here, Markdown is things like bulleted lists, links, anything like that. If you know what the syntax is for Markdown, we've got some help articles, but you can put things in there as well. So it's a little bit more powerful. So pool and spa area is going to be our section. And then the first item here is going to be the enclosure. So I'm going to add another field. And I'm going to say that, now there's a few ways to do this. So just for the sake of demonstrating how this works, we can do a few different things here. So if we want to do a checkbox and then you actually check that it is in compliance, that is one way to do it. The other way to do it is, and actually I'm just going to leave that one the way that it is for right now, and then I'll come back and do a select for the other one. So the next part of the MAC checklist is self-closing, self-latching gates or doors are operational. So again, add a new field. This one I'm going to do a select. So what you're going to do here is we have a few different ways that when you're doing this checklist, you can actually mark that this is complete. So we have in compliance, out of compliance, or NA or NO. So I'm going to just do that same thing. In, out, NA, NO. All right. So then based on that, another thing that you can do here is at the end of this description, you can actually put in 10 points. And so then what this will look like is when the form is actually completed, you can easily go back and then sum up all your totals. So, you know, put those point values in there and then it'll be easy to come up with your score and your letter grade based on that. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the rest of these specifically, but those are two ways to do this. One is a checkbox that it's in compliance. The other way to do this is a select whether it's in compliance, out of compliance, NA or NO. All right, so next up, the next section is water chemicals. So I'm going to do water chemicals. This is going to be another section. And the first one here is going to be approved test kit. So add a field, approved test kit, select, and then I'm just going to copy and paste these options here. So again, it takes a little bit of time to set up your forms, but once you've got them, then everything else is easy from there. Okay, so we added a couple other fields. I'm not going to go through all of these entirely, but I want to show you a couple other ways to do this as well. So purpose of visit, check one, that would be a great fit for a radio button. So let's say that we go to purpose of visit and we forgot to do this form earlier on, or the field rather. So purpose of visit, we've got routine or complaint. I'm not going to add the others, but let's say that you want this up toward the top of your form. You're just going to grab this hamburger here, and then you can just move it all the way up to the top. So I think this makes sense to put it right below the venue type. So it's really easy to reorder anything here. If you ever use Google Forms, it's very similar in how Google Forms works. Again, you know, different dynamic field types and everything like that. So water quality readings. Now, one way to do this is actually just to submit a chemical record in DigiQuatics separately, and then you can actually link to that chemical record. So to give you a specific example, we'll say water quality readings. And so the difference between a text and a text area is that a text, you get a small box like this one right here where we have the options. A text area is actually like this description where you get 3 lines by default, but then if you've ever noticed this, you can actually make it bigger. So it's more for like paragraph type text, whereas just a regular text is more short form. So I'm going to say this is text, and you could just copy and paste the URL of the chemical record log in DigiQuatics right here. But if you want to put these directly into this MAC inspection report, just for whatever reason, we're going to do something like, we'll do a section here. So water quality readings, and this is another little section we made. Add field, I'm going to say free chlorine, or you could do FAC. And for this one, we're going to want a number. So the cool thing about that is we can do more analytics and things knowing that it's going to be, say, you know, 1 or 1.5 or 2 or something versus just any old text like, you know, no or yes or, you know, something like that that you just type in there. We will say this one is required though. So keeping those in mind. But maybe something like free bromine, if bromine doesn't apply to you, you want to make sure that required is no, so that you don't require something that isn't supposed to be recorded. So you can kind of figure out the rest for the water quality readings here, but that's kind of the gist of how to create some of these different fields. Now, one actual use case for the description, and you can put this really wherever you want, but if you want to put something like, you know, this grading system, you can actually put that up here in the description. So then this information is here and people can use it when they look at the form. Okay. Sweet. So continuing with our form here, we have enable attachments, and then we also have signatures. So actually, if you look at this MAC aquatic facility inspection report, we have a couple other things here. I'm not going to go into the inspection of results specifically because we've already kind of covered how to build these fields. But one thing here is the operator name, operator signature, inspector name and signature, and inspector's comments. So we're going to do those specifically. Before we do that, enable attachments. All that means is that people can take pictures, they could attach PDFs, Word documents, any commonly supported file type. So let's say they're doing this report and they find that depth and no diving markers are in good repair and visible. So let's say that they find a depth marker that is not clearly visible, like the paint's, rubbed off, or, you see those all the time. They can just snap a picture with their phone or with their tablet that they're using and just attach it to this report. Now, this can be one attachment, it could be 10, whatever they want to do. This just allows them to upload files. Okay, so add signature. So I'm going to say this is going to be the operator signature. Yes, this will be required. And then I'm also going to do the inspector signature. And I'm just going to call it inspector because when you add the signature, I'll show you in a second, it pre-fills out the inspector's signature part of it. So for the purposes of this, we'll just call it inspector. Another thing we can do here is add the operator name. Now, if you know that this person is going to be an employee in your DigiQuatics account, you can do a select employees, and that's going to give you a pre-built list of all the employees in your system. Otherwise, you can just have this as a text field, and then they could just type in their name. And obviously, there's going to be some sort of operator at the facility, so we're going to require that. And then the inspector is potentially, the person filling out the form. So that is going to be required as well. Okay, so we have the signatures. Now, the cool thing about the signatures is they're all digital. So whether you do it with your finger, with a mouse, they're all going to be recorded and easily accessible in your logs later on. So those are the two signatures I'm going to add. I'm going to add one more for the instructor or the inspector comments, excuse me. And this one I think makes sense to do a text area because, theoretically this could be a longer amount of text than one line. Now, one more thing you'll notice here is send completed form notifications to. So let's say that this MAC form, I want to send a copy of this to the pool manager when it is submitted. I'm just going to, and you can even search ahead here. So if you want to type their name, you can easily find them and then just pick their name here. Actually, I'm going to add Josh W. DigiQuatics. That'll send me an email. So depending on what this is, if it's like an incident report or accident report and you want to send an instant notification to, say, your risk management department contact, you can just put their name and email address right here, and this form with the PDF copy will be sent directly over to them as well. So it's super easy to migrate over from your existing workflow and process and make sure everybody's kept in the loop when these forms are submitted, no matter what they are. If you don't want any, just delete all of the notifications there. All right, so this looks good to me. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just gonna create this form. Saving. We have a ton of fields here, so give it a second to go through and do all of its magic. Custom field has been saved. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to jump over to the dashboard here. There's a few ways to get to actually completing this form. One of them is to actually go to the Forms module, but you can also just do a quick link to add form. So this is going to take me right to where I need to go. And now we should have the MAC Aquatic Facility Inspection form right here. And you'll notice that this is just for the Kings Park Rec Center right now because I chose that option. All right, so here's the results. So here was the description that I typed in. I have the address here, so I'm gonna just put in 1371 West Wesley. Of course, I shouldn't have made these all required, so then I don't have to type them in for the example. So here is the venue type. So this is that radio button that I was talking about. And then the risk type, we made this a select. So here we have 1, 2, and 3. We have the enclosure. So this was the checkbox that we created. So you can remember the Mac inspection form has this pool and spot area section. That's what this is right here. So we have the enclosure. And then here we have the self-closing, self-latching gauge for the 10 points. We're going to say that is in compliance. Water chemicals, again, we did the same thing we copy and pasted. We're going to say that's out of compliance. Here's where you could copy and paste your chemical record URL. And then here's your water quality reading. So for this one, we're just going to say 1.5. Operator name is going to be Michael Pierce. Inspector name is Josh Duffy. Inspector comments. Looks like you have quite the operation here. Good job. Nice. All right, now our file attachments. So you want to go ahead and attach a file. This is our TPPC social media promotion. Looking forward to seeing you guys all tomorrow if you're going to be there. Assuming we can get out with all this snow, of course. So you can upload whatever files you want. I just did an image here just for the sake of having it. And then these are the digital e-signatures, we like to call them. So if you're on a tablet, you can use your finger. Otherwise, you can just use your mouse here and apply this signature. So that is the operator's signature and then the inspector signature as well. So here's my Josh Duffy signature. I'm a little bit challenged when it comes to drawing with the mouse. So, all right, so there's our Mac inspection form, the very short version of it for demonstration purposes only. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. If I don't fill out any of the fields that it requires, it's going to just simply redirect me back as you're used to and say, hey, you forgot to fill out this specific form field here. And then you can go ahead and fill out, those remaining fields. All right, I'm just going to take a look at the comments real quick here and see if we have any questions. All right. Cool. Sometimes depending on these file types and everything, it takes a second for it to upload. So we're going to, oh, my bad. It told me it. Name of aquatic venue. So Kings Park Rec Center. My bad. Did I miss anything else? I don't think. All right, form created. Bingo. There we go. All right, so this is the actual partially completed form at this point. And so we have all this data that we selected from the form. So here's our venue, here's our risk type. The time in, I did not complete that, so it just says invalid date. Enclosure was marked as yes. Self-closing gates and doors is in compliance. So all those values that you customize for whatever form that you want to create are just going to show up right here. So you have your inspector comments. You've got an attachment link here. So this will just download the TPPC image that I uploaded. And then I've got my operator and inspector signature as well. So this is going to date and timestamp and record who actually submitted this form. So I'm logged in as employee test right now. And it is January 28th at 11:22 a.m. Denver time. All right, now one other really cool thing, this was actually just released yesterday, is the PDF export with all of the file attachments included. So we'll go ahead and click this PDF button. This is going to create a PDF copy of the exact same thing that we saw. The awesome part here is this is going to pull in a thumbnail of all your file attachments. So if someone took pictures, here's that dive or the depth marker that is not really readable. You're going to see that right here. You're going to have copies of your signatures and everything right here. And here's a link to the actual form as well. So you can save this to your desktop. You could save it on your network drive. You could email it to somebody. Whatever you want to do with this PDF, you are more than welcome to do from DigiQuatics. So that is the custom forms module. Again, it's very, I mean, you can add as many forms as you want. So if you want to create your own from the Mac, from your local health department, if you wanted, I mean, the possibilities really are endless. Anything that you could do in, say, Google Forms, you can do with DigiQuatics Custom Forms. So we're going to open it up to Q&A. So if you see the Q&A button in your Zoom webinar window, feel free to drop a quick question in there, and I can answer them live, or Michael can answer them as well. While you guys are coming up with questions, I want to show you the offer that we have for signing up for DigiQuatics for the summer. So If you're interested in digitizing and taking everything completely streamlined in your pool, please request a quote on our website. All you have to do is go to digiquatics.com/pricing in the next 7 days. And when you guys sign up for the DigiQuatics account, we're going to send you a free tablet so that you can be more effective with using DigiQuatics at your pool. So again, this is just an exclusive webinar offer for people that are considering using DigiQuatics. You don't currently have an account, but this is something that you'd like to save yourself some time this summer. We'd be happy to send you a tablet so that you can just use DigiQuatics more efficiently at your pool. So that is the offer that we are including in this webinar. I'm going to jump back over to, can you create a form to print? So I assume what you mean by that is a form that you could, almost like a PDF form that would have all the fields, so then someone could like write in with a pen or complete on a computer. Is that specifically what you're asking? And if so, yes. So the way that you could do that is if you want to add the form. Now, one of the things that's a little bit difficult is that some of these things are digital, right? So if you print this form, which you certainly can, right? If you want to print this form to a PDF and then actually print that, physical hard copy, you're more than welcome to. The problem is if you do something like a select that requires you to actually click on it to see the options, then obviously on a piece of paper, you can't, see those options. But what you can do is do something a little bit different. So do a radio button. So for your wrist type, rather than a select with 1, 2, 3, you'd want to make this a radio button. So just imagine here with me, the wrist type is 1, 2, or 3. So then they could either fill it in with a pen or they could check it, with the check mark, anything like that on their piece of paper. So the answer to that question is yes, you absolutely can. You just have to think a little bit ahead in terms of how you make your fields. What other questions do you guys have about DigiQuatics Custom Forms? Feel free to just drop them over there. One other thing while you guys are thinking of any more questions, for the forms, let's say that you complete this MAC Aquatic Facility Inspection form. So I'm gonna go back and view this form. And with those points, right, so you can actually go back to this form. And let's say that we made another number field, right? That's the total number of points that are in compliance. Then you can just go back through as a manager later and edit this form and then add up all the points. And then in that, let's just say it's, at this inspector comments here, the total points was 90 in compliance. So you can put those in there, and then let's say it was 10 out. Then you can record that on your form, so you can always go back and edit these forms and then just store the records for however you want. Can we insert a logo into the form aside from just attaching it at the end? So Desiree, I assume you're kind of talking about the private lesson form where when you go to the form itself, it shows the logo up at the top. You can't add the logo to the top of this form specifically, but that is on our product roadmap. So you will be able to upload that here in the short future. And then one more thing I wanted to mention, I totally forgot about this, is doing form templates. So basically the use case behind that is that you can create a template, or we can have predefined templates for you, like the MAC Aquatic Facility Inspection form. So then when you actually go and create a new form in your DigiQuatics account, rather than going through and doing all the fields and everything yourself, you can just choose from a predefined list that we have created for you. So we're going to be taking some of the commonly used forms, such as this MAC form. Let's say there's a pool closure form that you need to complete. We're going to be making templates so that you can do that as well. A couple other things to expect on the roadmap is some more customizability around different zones. So like if you want to do something like patron count zones, where you have your lap swimming area, your diving well, things like that, you can make more customized selects so you don't have to type those in every time. And then also like making your form shorter. So you'll if you think ahead to how this works, you're going to have a lot of selects here. So the form is going to be very long vertically. And so what we're going to do is make them so that you can squish them side by side, right? So you could say free available chlorine is, 20% of the width of your form, and then pH is another. So they'll be like all in one row. So your form is a little bit more compact. You don't have to scroll miles and miles to get down to the bottom of it. A couple other things too is more reporting and analytics features as well. So just looking at filtering options and searching, for your different forms. So you can look at things like those numbers. So, let's say this MAC form, right? We completed it, last year, and we had an A rating, and now we completed it, 1 quarter later, and now we're at a B rating. So being able to better see more analytics and trends as time goes on. So a couple of things to keep an eye out for, but so far we're off to a really great start with the forms feature. Oh, one more thing, sorry, is multi-select. So being able to select multiple options. One example of the multiple select is when you do the notifications. So a multi-select would be something like, let me get back to this, oops. Get back to this form here. So multi-select here is where you actually can say, Gabriel, you can select multiple options. So that's another thing that's coming up on our product roadmap. Michael, thank you for the reminders on those. All right, so that kind of concludes our webinar presentation today on DigiQuatics Custom Forms. If you have any more questions, feel free to send us a message on DigiQuatics on the website. When you get to our website, you can actually chat live with us. So if you have any specific questions to your operation, just go to our website here and you can open up the chat. Feel free to give us a call, send us an email. And of course, if you're interested in having a tablet to help better manage your pool more efficiently this summer, go ahead and go over to digiquatics.com/pricing. Michael included it in the chat here, and you can request your custom quote. So we're totally flexible on pricing, whatever modules you want to use. If you have seasonal operations only, we account for everything like that. So don't be afraid to request a quote. We'll get you squared away. And again, I just want to thank you all for enjoying or just taking the time to check out this webinar today. I really enjoyed going through this MAC inspection checklist, and I hope you did as well. And sorry, one more thing before I forget. There is another webinar that is going on in 28 minutes for the checklist, the daily customized checklist in DigiQuatics. Michael, do you mind answering Sean's question about the tablets? There he goes. Let me get the checklist. Cool. So there is another webinar here in 28 minutes that we're going to be going through a separate module in DigiQuatics, specifically the daily checklist. So if you want to register for that and you're free here in just a little bit, feel free to click that link in the chat and you can register for that webinar. It's going to be very similar to this, about 20 minutes of demo and 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes of Q&A. So again, thank you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We look forward to seeing you at TPPC or AOAP, whichever conference you're going to be at next. And have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.